came to me and said, hey, listen, your mother was dumb. She started smoking when she was 16. Then after we told her it was bad for her, she kept doing it. So we're not going to give her chemotherapy. We're not going to give her radiation. We're not going to give her any of that stuff. You know why? Because she's getting what she deserves. No one said that. No one said that about someone who had cancer. Yet somehow, if it's heroin or cocaine or alcohol, we say, well, they decided they're getting what they deserved.
New Jersey Governor Christie is considered by plenty of pundits as having no shot come next November. Perhaps because maybe the man is actually saying things of import, of substance, and it's being ignored by those who would rather run with bloated egos than talk about issues. Is it just possible Christie is the best the GOP has to offer, yet may never sniff the White House? Let's deal that in, along with Marco Rubio's finances and Donald Trump tripling down when he can in bagging opponents. We begin with a political analyst, Sirius XM radio contributor and political science professor at Hiram College in Northeast Ohio. Also author of the book Political Consultants and Campaigns, One Day to Sell, Dr. Jason Johnson. And also let's welcome back to the Hardline, journalist based out of North Carolina, senior contributor for the Federalist, D.C. McAllister. I want to thank you both for joining me this evening. And Dr. Johnson, I'm going to start with you. This video was actually several days old when it surfaced. It has Democrats applauding. It has Republicans applauding. And it really shows passion. Got to tell you, I was impressed, but I had a question. Why are we taking 5 days to see this? And why is the major media not playing this more often? Something's going on here.
Because everyone drank the Marco Rubio KoolAid after the debate last week, and no one else is allowed to keep running once there has been a decision by insiders as to who's actually leading the race. Look, there are lots of different Republicans right now who have very good and very interesting ideas. You've got Christie talking about drugs. You have Ted Cruz talking about criminal justice reform. And I think it's a shame that this video wasn't presented earlier because this isn't new. Christie has been saying things like this about drug abuse for years, and I think it's just a sign that we sometimes are too quick to anoint new frontrunners and not pay enough attention to the people who are still in the race.
D.C., are we then seeing the media on both sides basically keeping things like this down and keeping it away from the American public simply because of the KoolAid? Or, I hate to say this, but is there something more sinister here?
Well, I think there's definitely an agenda with the media. They're wanting the Democrats to be stronger, and so they're going to keep anything down that's on the Republicans to be able to give them a boost in their polling. That's just going to be a fact. We're seeing that all across the board with all the candidates.
Do you think, D.C., that this is a breakout moment for Christie, or is unfortunately this just going to be lost in all the furor?
I don't see him gaining in the polls that much just from this one circumstance. I just don't.
Now, Dr. Johnson, the same thing here, because when I look at the New Hampshire polls right now, the ones that came out today in the Boston Globe, it says that Rubio and Christie are showing gains in New Hampshire. Could this be enough to get him over a hump?
Well, I mean, it depends on what the hump is that we're really talking about. I do not believe for one second there's some vast left-wing conspiracy in the media. I'm a college professor. We don't have a vast left-wing conspiracy when it comes to students.
Oh, come on now. You're just fooling us now. We all know there's a left-wing conspiracy. Come on now.
That's not true. But what I can say is this. There is always, and this doesn't matter if you're on the right or left, there's an interest in what seems to be the hot story. And Christie was dead and buried by lots of people after Bridgegate. So I think that still pulls against him with a lot of people reporting because they don't think he can get any further. And Marco Rubio seems clean. I don't think it's much a conspiracy as much as old news still dragging down a new and fresh candidate.
All right, now you mentioned his name. Let's talk about him. On CNN earlier this morning, Donald Trump went off. He criticized Ben Carson for demeanor, Marco Rubio for personal finances, and repeated the attack on Jeb Bush for his low energy. Here's what he said.
You were the one with the temperament issue. Anyone you disagree with, you call a loser. You say they stink. No matter how good a reporter they are, you say they're a terrible reporter if you don't like what they say.
And I have the ultimate temperament. My temperament is great. You can't have a bad temperament and build a great
company.
But
all you do is attack those who disagree with you. You can't do that on the world stage.
I have 90 days left. I want to win. I have 90 days left, and I'm a different guy than Jeb Bush, who said, oh, Marco is terrific. He's my dear, dear friend. He's such a wonderful person. And you know what I said 3 months ago? I said they hate each other.
D.C., Chris Cuomo may be wrong on all this. Wait a minute. It's worked for Donald Trump every point to now. Why stop?
He's not going to stop. Why would he change what's working for him? I mean, and back to this, I just want to say a point about the conspiracy. I don't really mean that there's a leftist conspiracy. There's definitely bias in the media. And as far as Donald Trump, he's going to call out the bias. He's going to call out his other candidates. He's going to fight. I mean, this is kind of like a game of Survivor. I mean, they'll get along when they need to get along to advance each other. But then when they have to turn, they're going to turn on each other. So, you're going to see more of this from Donald Trump because he's going to want to elevate himself and set apart from the rest of the candidates.
I got a minute left, so I need 30 seconds from both of you. D.C., I'll go to you. Marco Rubio, they're all talking about his GOP credit card right now. Some transactions are still secret. Donald Trump made a big deal out of it. Do you think this is going to make any dent whatsoever as he rises?
No. Because I don't think that that's what people are attracted to him. I don't think it's going to turn them off. Those who are for Rubio like his story and like how he connects with the common people. So that's not going to be a dent in his campaign.
Dr. Johnson, what do you think? Because it seems as if what D.C. said is true. They like what he says. They like his look. They like the way he approaches people and answers questions right now. Any crack in the facade here?
Everybody loves you now 90 days out, but you know what? No one wins the Super Bowl in week 8, and he doesn't have the nomination. This is the kind of thing that'll stick with him if he becomes the Republican nominee, but probably won't hurt him until he gets to Iowa.
Wait a minute now. I got to tell you, though, everybody's saying that we may be a year from the election in 90 days from Iowa, but come on, Dr. Johnson, this has been decided, right?
Unfortunately, too many people think that. I'm still holding out. I'm still a believer this could still be a big race.
We're all still holding out because, quite frankly, the race is what's interesting, and just listening to it and watching it, that is what gets our interest at the end of the day. Dr. Jason Johnson, D.C. McAllister, I want to thank you both for joining us. Promise we will do this again. Well, the president insists all's well with Obamacare. Ask the people in Kentucky and those seeing soaring premium rates. So then you get to get some facts from the fluff. Coming up next on the fastest 60 minutes in news, The Hardline.